This video is sponsored by my favorite website creator, Squarespace, the best place to go when you want to get a domain or create a gorgeous website or an online store. It is time. 2023 is drawing to a close and I'm simply desperate to do a roundup of my reading year because it has been utterly excellent. Listen to this, 5 5-star reads and no less than 12 4.5-star reads, and an impressive 16 4-star reads, which means so many good books that I will have to skip the 4 stars and stay strictly to 4.5 and above today. It's a mix of everything this year, so no matter what your personal partiality is, creepy or romantic or classics or experimental, you will find something here that will tickle your fancy, I'm sure. So maybe let's start with the 4.5 stars and then make our way up towards the 5 stars, shall we? In alphabetical order, here are my 4.5 star reads. Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin from 1956. I talked about this in my Classics for Beginners video, so I won't say much here except that the first part of the book, a solid 5 stars from me. The second part, I didn't care for that at all actually. Tasteless and quite shocking jokes about abusing women, plus like a loss in energy compared to the first half, if you ask me. I know a lot of people love the whole of this book though, not just the first part, and it's one of those books that people say that they cry actual floods when they're reading. So I do say give it a go. I didn't cry, but that first half, I was mesmerized. One book that came out this year is The Guest by Emma Cline. This is the first book by Cline that I've read, and I will definitely come back for more. It's extremely smart, it's sexy, it's sad, it's annoying, it's weird, and that feeling of, like, no, please don't do that, please don't say that, kind of like cringe moments. I'm so here for it. Recommend. Osamu Dazai's book No Longer Human from 1948 is one of Japan's most read books because it's a book about daydreaming about suicide from an author who himself took his own life just before the book came out. His 1935 book, The Flowers of Buffoonery, is a story about a failed suicide attempt, and I thought that it might be safer to start here since No Longer Human is said to be so intensely bleak and sad. And I have to say, The Flowers of Buffoonery, I loved it. It's one of the most energetic pieces of fiction that I've ever read. The sentences sort of sizzle and crack on the page. He's funny, he's inventive, he's unique, he's incredibly smart and experimental. I was utterly floored. So, on to No Longer Human next. I'm a bit scared, but Osamu Dazai is such a virtuoso stylist that I just can't seem to stay away. It's like catnip for me. Another book that just came out this year is The Happy Couple by Nisha Dolan. I loved her debut novel, Exciting Times, but I have to say her second book, The Happy Couple, is probably even more to my liking. It's told from 4 people's perspective about a couple about to get married, and it's typically Dolan. Wry, funny, bleak, and extremely intelligent. I mean, basically genius level intelligence. I am vibing with this book so much. I actually, now that we're talking about it, I can't even tell you why I gave it 4.5 instead of a solid 5. You know what? Let's amend this mistake. I'm officially bumping it up to my 5-star list. There, that's better. The Young Man by Annie Ernaux. I almost hesitate calling this book a book because honestly, it's 30 pages long with incredibly large font. So it's more like a pamphlet than a book. That being said, this one packs a punch. I mean, I guess she's a bit of an acquired taste and all. I know a lot of people don't get along with her, but those of us who do, we tend to count her as one of our absolute favorite authors, which I definitely do. I will reread this before long. So much to unpack from just 30 pages. It's really romantic, it's quite shocking, it's beautiful and it's insightful. It's just a gorgeous little piece of writing. I actually had quite a bad reading spring, with renovations going on and getting everything ready before publication day of my novel. I had almost no time to read, and when I did, I had almost no brain to focus with. Luckily, my summer and autumn have been tremendous reading months, so 2023 has shaped to be quite the epic little reading year. One of the highlights from spring though, in the middle of renovation mayhem, was Lucy, the 1990 novel from Jamaica Kincaid herself. It's the first Kincaid I read, and now I'm in love. So fierce, so sharp, such a unique voice. Again, I've talked about this one before, so if I haven't convinced you before, let me try again. Pick this up, you will not regret it. I had my book launch at Libreria, which is like a very stylish, very yellow bookshop in East London, and I was toasting with my agent Peter, talking about this and that, when he suddenly spots a book spine in the bookshop and like pulls it out, and it's this book, Pereira Maintains by Italian writer Antonio Tabucci from 1994. As usual, when Peter recommends books to me, which he often and like enthusiastically does, I have never heard of the book in question, which he's mentioning. So he says, like in his usual very British fashion, Jenny, have you read this one? It's beautiful. And when I told him like, no, I've never heard of it, he said, that's it, I'm getting this one for you. And promptly goes over to the till to buy it for me. And also, like usual, whenever Peter recommends me a book, I tend to utterly love it, which I did. Not at first, this is like a slow burn, but by the time I put it down, a kind of like calm sadness, like melancholia, just like washed over me. It's about how like atrocious humans are, and also how completely beautiful we are too. You know, like fascism, resistance, bravery, humanity, all that like timeless stuff. It's short, so give it a go, but if you do, stick with it to the end, and don't thank me, thank my agent Peter for his excellent taste in books. What a coincidence, the next book on my list is also a Peter recommendation, and this one is the third book ever that I can remember that has made me cry. It's Reunion by Fred Ullman from 1971. It's about two German boys, one rich blonde one and one middle-class Jewish boy, who form a sort of first love kind of friendship. Then, you know, war happens. So this is another book where you should just like sit yourself down with a full pot of tea and read the whole thing in one sitting. It's just like 80 pages. So do it for me and tell me later. Did you too cry? No news here. Virginia Woolf is one of my all-time favorite authors, and Mrs. Dalloway is the book that I have in most editions, including an American first edition from 1925 that David gave me when I got my book deal. To the Lighthouse was the first book that I ever read by her back when I was maybe 17, and honestly, I didn't understand anything. Who are these people and where are they going and what are they doing and how come nothing happens? And so it's a bit of a mouthful, this book, with sentences that stretch on in winding dependent clauses and constant little side note parentheses in like typical Virginia Woolf fashion. This time though, I not only understood what I was reading, I adored it. She is a maestro and a beauty and an unparalleled author, but not for beginners. If you do want ideas for which classics to pick up as a beginner, I'll leave a link to my previous video in the description for you. The final 3 4.5-star books on my list are shockingly written by the same author, the superb Japanese writer Banana Yoshimoto. In 1988, Yoshimoto published no less than 4 books, her first 4 books ever to be published, and all 4 of them became bestsellers in Japan. The Premonition was one of those books, and it has just now been published by Faber in English this autumn. I read this one, plus I reread the collection Asleep, which I actually bought when I was in Tokyo, and I read her most famous book, Kitchen. All are so thick with mood and such like beautiful, small, detailed moments that I got chills over and over again reading these 3 stunners. So I would start with Kitchen if you're new to Yoshimoto, but honestly, you can't really go wrong with her books. She's one of my all-time favorite authors, and I learned so much as an author myself reading her books, so I just couldn't recommend her more. Okay, it's time to move on to my 5-star, and let me first do a bonus 5-star read, a book that I've read more times than any other book ever. Hundreds of times I've read this little rascal, and I love it more than any other book ever too. I am, of course, talking about my moody little debut novel, OK Days. I can't believe that 2023, this year, was the year that I got to publish a novel. Honestly, it still hasn't sunk in, and it definitely hasn't sunk in that so many of you have read it already. It's so surreal, but in like the most delicious way possible. If you read it, you are my favorite person, and if you've ever wanted to give me a Christmas gift, go buy a copy, Or for that matter, why not give yourself or someone you love a cute little literary gift this holiday? Look no further, go get a copy. Links to worldwide free shipping in the description. Okay, hello, excuse me for the interruption, but I have an exciting little announcement because this week we're doing a gorgeous little giveaway over on Instagram where you can win 2 things. First of all, the winner will not get 1, not 2, but 3 personally signed copies of OK Days, 1 to keep for themselves and 2 to give to their best and most precious friends. And secondly, the winner will also get something that I know you all love, 1 set of the monofilio teapot and teacups. I've had this set for years already and I post photos and show it off in videos all the time. I'm sure most of you have seen it already a bunch of times in my content, and every time I show it off, I get so many questions about where it's from and how I got it. So I asked the lovely people at Mono and they are thrilled to gift a teapot-teacup set to the winner of the giveaway. I mean, honestly, they are the nicest. So will you be that lucky winner? Go on over to Instagram, I will leave a link to the giveaway in the description, and may the odds be ever in your favor, etc, etc. Honestly, I'm so excited to go into my publisher's office and personally sign the 3 copies for 3 future readers once the winner has been picked. Are you excited too? I know you are. What a perfect gift for yourself and your friends for the holiday, isn't it? Okay, sorry for the interruption and let's get back to the video. If you want fun, sexy, outrageous, messy, sometimes violent Los Angeles shenanigans written in excellent, highly intelligent prose, Eve Babbitt's is for you. She's having such a renaissance with readers in our generation finding her again, and she's definitely one of the writers of the moment, and for good reason. I read Slow Days, Fast Company and Sex and Rage this year, and Slow Days is a 5-star for me. Let me know what you think. For the first time in my life, I think, I've read a whole poetry collection. Yes, call me a Philistine all you want, but honestly, I'm a prose girl. Novels, that's my poison of choice. This book though, I bought honestly simply because of the epic combination of a superb title with a gorgeous cover. I've been reading this slowly, 1 or 2 poems when I'm sitting down with a glass of champagne, and I'm happy to say it really did it for me. God, I Feel Modern Tonight is a desperate, sad, loud type of laugh out loud humor. That's not an easy thing to do, expressing sadness with humor. I felt really seen, and I'm not sure if it was a type of scene I wanted to be, if you know what I mean. A lot of ouch moment. So good, so sexy and funny and nasty. I just loved it. Another book from 2023, the debut novel of my new favorite, Anna Metcalf. Chrysalis, I've talked about this before. If you want extreme moodiness, unusual characters, and pondering that makes you really think and reevaluate how you look at yourself and your fellow humans, this one is for you. I had chills reading this, and it's one of those books that I just can't stop thinking about. It's my Roman Empire book for sure. A masterpiece, one of the best books I have ever read. I even put it on my top 10 books of all time list if you saw that video from a couple of months ago. Couldn't recommend this one more. Go get it. My top 2 reads of 2023 are Chrysalis that I just talked about and The Friend by Sigrid Nunes. Both so good, I put them on my top 10 books of all time list. The Friend is a perfect book, very unusual in structure, but one of those books you'll never forget. A magical piece of writing. More a collection of musings on the world than a story with a beginning, middle and end. I don't want to give too much away, but if you're only going to read 1 more book this year and you're in the mood for something unusual, this one should be it. Utter gorgeousness. I read it this summer, and then this autumn was sent an advanced copy of Nunes' next book, The Vulnerables, that I think just came out a week ago or something. I mean, I love this one too. At first I was this is amazing, but it's not as good as The Friend. But then the last third of it, oh man, it just built and built a roaring crescendo, and then pang, it hit with a perfect 10. You know, when I read, I underline a lot, but I never ever annotate. I don't write a single word in the margins. This book is the first to have ever made me write in the margins. It was just a single word, beautiful, with an exclamation mark. Not very inventive perhaps, but very heartfelt. Nunes, Wolf, Yoshimoto, Dolan, quite a few of my favorite authors on this list. But what about you? Are you seeing any of your favorites, or are there any of my favorites this year that you think you might want to pick up and try for yourself? I think personally that you should be an utter sweetheart and go get your own copy of my debut novel, a literary love story set in London. Could it be more cozy for the holiday season? Actually, it does have a Christmas chapter set in Stockholm. How terribly fitting, isn't it? I will love you lots and forever if you do support me by buying a copy. And for those of you who already have, honestly, I can't even tell you how much that means to me. It's like so hard out there for authors to break through, and you are doing just that for me. My publisher is like extremely pleased and grateful, let me tell you, as of course am I, your friendly neighborhood little novelist. Oof, I can't wait for my Christmas break and having the time and focus to do some serious classics reading. Do tell me, which classic should I pick? I'm kind of in the mood for some more Virginia, but I'm also pondering Tanizaki. Or actually, you know what? I might go for a bit of Sweden nostalgia and pick up a Strindberg. What do you think? Also, let me know what other book videos I should do coming up. Swedish books, Japanese books, the most difficult or emotional books that I've ever read, or my reading routine. Please request, I'd love it when you do, and give me a like if you enjoyed this one, and feel free to subscribe to not miss my upcoming bookish videos, of course. Now, do you want to create a beautiful site and maybe start your own blog? If so, you should definitely do it with Squarespace. Listen to this, with Fluid Engine, a next generation website design system, it's never been easier for you to unleash your creativity. So you start with an incredible template and then you customize everything by simply dragging and dropping. It seriously couldn't be easier. Squarespace is also amazing with blogging tools to share your stories, photos and videos to make it easy to reach your audience. You can also auto-post your content to Twitter, Facebook or Tumblr, and they also have great traffic analytics so that you can see how many people are visiting your site and how long they're staying for and where they're coming from and what they're interested in. I don't know, like books or languages or maybe fashion, for example. So what are you waiting for? Go get your free trial today at squarespace.com, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/jennymustard to get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. That's it. See you next week already, and until then, happy reading. Peace, peace.